Good morning, class. Hey, we are going to start reading The Taming of the Shrew today. So, I just wanted to, I'm trying to get this where it doesn't have me in weird, strange, frozen, like weird facial expressions on the video, just because I think that's weird. So I was hoping if I started out with the book, maybe it would not do that whenever I saved the video. The other thing is, you all have a copy of this at the high school. So just wanted to let you know, and I'm going to get you to the website where you can access the play and you can read along, okay? So the first thing you need to do, you need to go to the Shakespeare.folger.edu website, and I'll actually put that link into the Google Classroom site, but that's where we're going to be reading it from. So I just want to make sure that everybody is aware of what you're supposed to be doing and that everything is great, okay? Okay, so you're going to find it on there. Whenever you open up that play, you're gonna click on Taming of the Shrew, which is down toward the bottom, starts with a T. So Taming of the Shrew, and then what you're going to see, and it's actually, see, it actually shows the picture of the book that I just showed you. So it gives you the character list right away, and then you're going to just keep scrolling down, and it tells you that next is the induction, scene 1, okay? And it gives you a little, it gives you a synopsis every time in front of the, and this is actually why I particularly like the Folger Shakespeare books, because they give you a synopsis of every single scene. Shakespeare's hard. Now I will tell you, this is one of his easier plays, okay? This one is hilarious. This one is about gender. It's about gender roles. It's about, you know, what are expectations of males versus females? Are there bad males? Are there bad females? Has a lot of interesting questions in it. I think it's a riot. I think it's hysterical. So we're going to read this together, okay? But in the front of my book, like as I'm reading, I'll show you that too. Because remember, you have a copy of these. So whenever you start reading it, on the left page, you always have this nice synopsis of what's going on in the scene. So that tells us right off the bat that this character in this induction. So the induction happens before Act 1, which is weird. Most of Shakespeare's other plays don't do that. They have 5 acts. You get right into it with Act 1. So Taming of the Shrew is quite unique. It stands alone in that manner. Okay, so it tells us that Christopher Sly is a drunk beggar. He's driven out of an alehouse by the hostess of the alehouse, and so there's a great lord who's coming in, and the lord is returning from a hunt, and he finds Sly, who's drunk, on like the outside on the road, and he decides to play a joke on Christopher Sly. It's kind of a funny joke. So the lord orders his servants to act like Sly is a lord, and that he's been sick, that he's been, you know, kind of indisposed for a while, and that he doesn't remember that he's a lord, but he is a lord. Can you imagine? So if you went and took somebody who was, you know, maybe you know, this is not a kind thing to do, obviously. This is not something you'd want to do, but to put it in context, if you took somebody who maybe was homeless, and you know, you know, maybe they'd had a real late night. You found them outside a bar, and you took them into someone's mansion, and you dressed them up, and you put them in this luxuriant bed, in this luxuriant room, and whenever they woke, you waited on them hand and foot, and you told them like, "Oh my lord, you know, you just don't seem to remember." That's what these people are doing to this beggar guy who's outside of this alehouse. Now, this is hilarious to Shakespeare's audience. Remember, Shakespeare's always playing to his audience. First of all, it's an absurd idea to anybody who's nobly born. And remember, he's writing during the time of like Elizabeth I, and she loves him. She thinks that plays are hilarious and awesome. And so anybody who's nobly born, who's thinking this drunk beggar guy could never impersonate a lord, nobody would think that. Of course not. That's ridiculous. Well, yeah, you know, that is kind of a crazy idea. But the thing is, the people in the audience who are also lowly born, the people who, you remember the groundlings? Whenever we've talked about this every year, we talk a little bit about the Globe Theater and about how in Shakespeare's time there were groundlings, and these were people that just paid basically like a penny to get in. They had to stand the whole time. and it was real interactive. Like people on stage would throw stuff out into the audience, and there was just it was a uproarious good time. And so these groundlings that are just regular, lowly born people are thinking, man, wouldn't that just be it? You wake up in this fancy bed, you wake up with this fancy apparel, you wake up and everybody's calling you Lord. Whoo, that's awesome. And so, it's really an interesting idea. And it starts off one of our major themes in this play about reality versus fantasy. Like what is real and what's not. And so that's kind of a big deal too. So that's what's going to be happening in the induction. The induction never finishes, okay? The induction, as we get to the end of it, everybody's waiting. There's a company of players that come in. They're like people who perform plays. And they come in and they're going to perform for Christopher Sly and the Lord and these people. We never finish this idea of the induction. So I think it's a fascinating idea. I'd love to see the induction completed. And there have been some works that have been created since the Taming of the Shrew that tried to maybe address Christopher Sly, or they try to look at some of the main characters nowadays and interpret them nowadays. And I think those are really interesting too. But anyway, so this induction is pretty fascinating. Okay, now what I've also done, so Folger Shakespeare, the website we are using, remember you have a copy of the book that we've purchased, they're just at the school. Folger Shakespeare, they have provided several plays online, the audio files, for free. Well, this is not one of the plays that they provided for free. So I went ahead and I purchased it on audible.com, okay? So I am going to be playing my copy of it from audible.com so you can hear it. The beauty of hearing it, the audio version of it, is you hear actors actually saying it. So you're going to want to keep up with the reading, follow along. Make sure that you're not getting behind. Make sure that that you're just paying attention. If you have any questions, I'd highly recommend having like a piece of paper and a pencil out, and just if you come across something you're like, what the heck is happening there? You can just jot a note down and then look that up at some other point. Remember, Shakespeare's words, he uses some strange words. He invents language. Like he actually uses all of these words that were not in the English language until he placed them into a play. So sometimes like the first line starts out, Sly says, "I'll fees you in faith." Fees? that's not a real word. Maybe he's talking about, in my copy, Folger Shakespeare, again, is awesome. They give all of these extra little tidbits of information. So it tells me that whenever he says fees you, it means fix you, do for you. He's gonna get them. He's gonna fix them because they're manhandling him. They're trying to get him up and move him, okay? So that's what's happening. So anytime you come across something like that, if you want to go ahead and just jot it down and look it up later, if you want to pause the video, like that's okay. Feel free, okay? So you do this in the way that it makes sense for you, where you feel the most comfortable. A lot of times you can get from the context of how they're saying a thing and what they're saying, you can gain understanding from it, okay? Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and start our audio file. And I'm going to pause it whenever I feel like I need to tell you something. So this is going to take a while, but what do you do?
This is Audible.
Ooh.
We present The Taming of the Shrew by William Shakespeare.
Very exciting.
wretched conqueror. Therefore, Balcus Palabras, let the world slaughter.
You will not pay for the glasses you have burst.
No, not a denny. Go by St. Geronimy. Go to the cold bed and warm thee.
I know my remedy. I must go fetch the third berry.
Third, a fourth, a fifth, I'll answer him by law. I'll not budge an inch, boy. Let him come and kindly.
Okay, so real quick. So that's, first of all, these are actors. I hope you can hear everything really well because, like, it's kind of weird and possibly slightly disgusting. You know, Chris Sly, drunk guy falling asleep outside a ale house. He is just, you know, they're actors. They are acting the scene out, okay? And why is the hostess mad at him? You may have caught that she said, "You will not pay for the glasses you have burst." So evidently, not only has he, you know, been doing a lot of drinking, and I think if I think I'm accurate on this. I think people who are restaurant owners and bar owners, they don't mind people imbibing on their property, but they don't like it whenever people get to a place where they can't control themselves and they're like falling down, they're breaking things. Breaking things is never cool. I believe property owners don't like that. So she's pretty ticked off with him, kind of throwing him out. And then right in the middle of everything, he just like passes out. He just like falls asleep in the street. So this guy is literally a mess. Bless his heart. Okay, we're about to meet the Lord.
I charge thee tender well, my hounds. Breathe, Merriman, the poor girl is embossed, and couple Clouder with the deep-mouthed ratch. Saw'st thou not, boy, how Silver made it good at the hedge corner in the coldest fault? I would not lose the dog for £20.
Why, Bellman is as good as he, my lord. He cried upon it at the merest loss, and twice today picked out the dullest scent. Trust me, I take him for the better dog.
Thou art a fool. If Echo were as fleet, I would esteem him worth a dozen such. But sup them well, and look unto them all. Tomorrow I intend to hunt again.
I will, my lord.
Okay, so the Lord comes back and he has all of these huntsmen with him and they have dogs and they're all barking. It's this very chaotic scene. They're talking about a good dog versus a bad dog, one that can hunt the animal and can help the hunter find his prey. So that's what the Lord, I mean, this is like lordly life. You know, you get to go on hunts, you get to, you know, live the high life. And so that's what he's doing. That's why we have all of that interesting stuff in the background.
What's here? One dead or drunk?
He notices Christopher
See,
Sly.
doth he breathe? He breathes, my lord. Were he not warmed with ale, this were a bed but go to sleep so soundly. Oh, monstrous beast, how like a swine he lies. Grim death, how foul and loathsome is thine image. Sirs, I will practice on this drunken man. What think you if he were conveyed to bed, wrapped in sweet clothes, rings put upon his fingers, a most delicious banquet by his bed, and brave attendants near him when he wakes? Would not the beggar then forget himself?
Believe me, lord, I think he cannot choose.
It would seem strange unto him when he wakes. Even as a flattering dream or worthless fancy. Then take him up and manage well the jest. Carry him gently to my fairest chamber and hang it round with all my wanton pictures. Balm his foul head in warm distilled waters and burn sweet wood to make the logic sweet. Procure me music ready when he wakes to make a dulcet and a heavenly sound. And if he chance to speak, be ready straight, and with a low, submissive reverence say, "What is it your honour will command?" Let one attend him with a silver basin full of rose water and bestrewed with flowers. Another bear the ewer, a third a diaper, and say, "Will please your lordship cool your hands?" Someone be ready with a costly suit, and ask him what apparel he will wear. Another tell him of his hounds and horse, and that his lady mourns at his disease. Persuade him that he hath been lunatic, and when he says he is, say that he dreams, for he is nothing but a mighty lord. This do, and do it kindly, gentle sirs. It will be pastime passing excellent if it be husbanded with modesty.
My lord, I warrant you we will play our part, as he shall think by our true diligence he is no less than what we say he is.
Take him up gently and to bed with him, and each one to his office when he wakes.
Okay. So this lord comes up with this idea, like he just thinks this is a hoot. You know, the guy's passed out in the middle of the street, and the lord is like, man, I have an awesome idea. I have the means, I have time. I think I'm gonna play like the best prank ever on this guy. And so he's gonna have him taken up to his chambers, and he's gonna have them act like Chris Sly is the Lord, and they're going to say, like, you know, my lord, and they're going to bow to him, and they're going to ask him what he'll wear today, and, you know, all these weird things. Now, Chris Sly is just a common man, you know, who knows how he got the money to pay for the L, but kind of that's how he's living, day-to-day man, just getting the next thing. So this is going to completely, think if you woke up, it would be like a dream if you woke up and suddenly, like, all these people were calling you Lord. That's crazy. There's no way for you to process that, you know. So that's what's happening.
You'll see what trumpet is that sounds. Belike some noble gentleman that means travelling some journey to repose him here. Now, who is it?
And please, your honour, players that offer service to your lordship.
Bid them come near.
So there's a traveling player company that's come in.
Now, fellows, you are welcome.
Oh, we thank your honour.
Do you intend to stay with me tonight?
So please your lordship to accept our duty.
With all my heart. This fellow I remember since once he played a farmer's eldest son. 'Twas where you wooed the gentlewoman so well. I have forgot your name, but sure that part was aptly fitted and naturally performed.
I think 'twas Zotto that your honour means.
'Tis very true. Thou didst it excellent. Well, you are come to me in happy time. The rather for I have some sport in hand, wherein your cunning can assist me much. There is a lord will hear you play tonight, but I am doubtful of your modesties, lest over-eyeing of his odd behaviour, for yet his honour never heard a play, you break into some merry passion, and so offend him. For I tell you, sirs, if you should smile, he grows impatient.
Fear not, my lord, we can contain ourselves were he the veriest antic in the world.
Go, sirrah, take them to the buttery and give them friendly welcome, every one. Let them want nothing that my house affords.
Okay, so this company of players has come through. Now this would be back in the day. This is the way that you know, entertainment came to town. You know, remember, you go from like really early times where you have a storyteller who's in the middle of like a hall, and they're telling the story that everybody kind of knows a little bit, and they're waiting for their favorite part, and that was entertainment. And then you emerge into this time where you can go to a playhouse, which would be similar to our modern theaters, but it would have live actors and they would be performing a play. And of course, everything was live. So a live performance is entirely different. If you've seen a live performance, which I'm sure you've seen many, live performances are, you know, you can't quite anticipate everything. There will be problems, there will be dropped lines, there will be, you know, things that happen, you know, things that occur in a live performance that don't happen in, say, a movie, okay? So live performances happened. Well, this is just a company of little players, like if you are familiar whenever our Stone Soup Shakespeare has come every year, to perform for us. They are a company of players and they're performing a Shakespeare play for us. And so that's what's happened. So the Lord tells this company of players, he's like, hey guys, I've got this Lord upstairs. Now he doesn't tell them the joke. He doesn't tell them that Chris Sly is actually a beggar. He says, this Lord upstairs acts really weird. He says weird things. Like if he does anything that seems crazy, like just overlook it. Act like nothing's wrong. Act like nothing's weird, because he's a little he's a little sick, he's a little crazy, and he does weird things. And they're like, oh yeah, no big deal. We are players, like we can play our parts, no problem. Again, we're dealing with this idea of reality versus fantasy. So, you know, just kind of keeping that theme going.
Sirrah, go you to Bartholomew my page, and see him dressed in all suits like a lady. That done, conduct him to the drunkard's chamber, and call him madam, do him obeisance. Tell him from me, as he will win my love, he bear himself with honourable action, such as he hath observed in noble ladies unto their lords by them accomplished. Such duty to the drunkard let him do, with soft low tongue and lowly courtesy, and say, what is't your honour will command? Wherein your lady and your humble wife may show her duty and make known her love. And then with kind embracements, tempting kisses, and with declining head into his bosom, bid him shed tears, as being overjoyed to see her noble lord restored to health, who for this 7 years hath esteemed him no better than a poor and loathsome beggar. And if the boy have not a woman's gift to rain a shower of commended tears, an onion will do well for such a shift, which in a napkin being close conveyed shall in despite enforce a watery eye. See this dispatched with all the haste thou canst. And on, I'll give thee more instructions.
Okay, let's pause. So, I don't know if you caught it or not, but Bartholomew, his page. So this would be like a boy who's probably like early teens, okay? Early to mid-teens. So he wants them to go grab Bartholomew and dress him up like a lady. And then have him go into Chris Sly's bedroom and to act like a noble lady. To act like he's his wife, okay? And Bartholomew's supposed to say, you know, what your honor will command, you know, and to say, what can I do to show you my love and my duty? And then with kind embracements and tempting kisses, and with declining head unto his bosom, bid him shed tears as being overjoyed. And then the Lord says, and this Lord is, you know, making me a little cranky with this. He says, and if the boy have not a woman's gift to rain a shower of commanded tears, an onion will do well for such a shift, which in a napkin, being close conveyed, shall in despite enforce a watery eye. So the Lord says, if Bartholomew can't cry on command, like every girl can. Ladies, can we cry on command? I cannot make myself cry. And if I cry, those tears usually mean run away, because I'm probably so ticked off that, you know, it's not good right now. So tears don't always mean what we think they mean, but the Lord seems to think that women manipulate with their tears. Now, some people might agree with this. We're going to talk a little bit about that probably on Friday whenever we have our Zoom conversation about this. We'll have to talk about some of these gender ideas that are brought up in this play. So now he's getting Bartholomew, his page, this teenage boy, to dress up like a girl and to come in and talk to Chris Sly, the drunk guy that he's acting like is the Lord. What is he doing? This just gets crazier and crazier.
The boy will well usurp the grace, voice, gait, and action of a gentlewoman. I long to hear him call the drunkard husband. And how my men will stay themselves from laughter when they do homage to this simple peasant. I'll enter counsel them. Happily my presence may well abate their over-merry spleen, which otherwise would grow into extremes.
Okay, so that is the end of scene 1, okay? So they all exit. So far right now, what we have Chris Sly, who was a beggar. He broke some stuff at this alehouse, and the hostess was pretty upset with him. And then he passes out in the street, literally passes out in the street. Okay, so he, once he passes out, this Lord, who evidently doesn't have he has a lot of time on his hands, doesn't have much to do, not a lot of responsibilities, he sees him and he's like, I have a good idea. I'm going to dress him up and act like he's a lord. This is going to be a hoot. you know, think of how many times like we prank people nowadays. Think of how many times you prank just like your friends, right? It's a thing that we love. We love to mess with people and then to be like, haha, just kidding. So they put Chris Sly up in the bedroom. He gets this company of players. They're gonna be doing a show of some kind. They're gonna be acting some things out. And he tells them no matter what this lord upstairs does, he does some weird things. Just keep going. The show must go on. And they're like, yeah, we've got this. And then his last thing he's gonna do is get Bartholomew, this teenage boy who's a page for him, to dress up like the wife of the Lord. And now Bartholomew's going to go in there and see if he can fool Chris Sly into thinking that he's got a wife. Chris Sly should know he doesn't have a wife. I feel like if you're married, you know it, and if you're not, you know it. So what is happening? But man, this Lord just has all sorts of cool ideas. So that's the end of the induction, scene 1. Okay, and I'm gonna pause it, and I'm gonna stop it, and then I'll put the induction scene 2 in a different video, okay? Okay, see ya.